That's right, live on Chicano Street, the Friday night open live. Don't forget to hit that pinchy like. The comments are already going wild. I'm going to go ahead and start reading the comments, and then we'll drop the link, and we'll talk about all the desmadre that's out there. So this is an open live. We're going to talk about everything, what's going on the YouTube yarda, a little bit of Chisme Tube. I do want to recap some of the last interviews that we had, some of the best ones. But again, Raza, slow it down. It's Friday night. Salud over to all the raza that's tapped in. Me and shout out to the beautiful, smoking, sexy, hot wife. We just got done with a dinner party. Estaba de aquellas. Wonderful people. People you admire and want to be like. So I shout out to them. Shout out to the dinner party. But now we're on Chicano Street. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. And now I'm going to go ahead and drop the link. Because there's been a lot of people telling me, Mikey, we like to be on Chicano Street. Okay, well, if you want to make an introduction, tonight is the night to make your introduction onto Chicano Street. That's right, Saludable, my boy. That's right, God. Look at that pinchy cherry. What is that? A 57? Local 64. People don't believe me when I tell them this, carnal. I took my driving test, 18 years old. Before a 90-day observation. But anyways, I took my driving test with the owner of Local 64's dad, Antonio Torres. Rest in peace. His dad and my mom were from the same pueblo in Mexico, straight up. And, a lot of people that know Salinas know it's all families. We know of one each other. But the Local 64, to me, Salaboy through one, to me, is the best lowrider ever built, carnal. But again, it could be I'm being biased, but so what? That's right, Sea Dog. I appreciate you, cabron. Sea Dog's in the casa. That's right, Tijuas is in the casa. That's right. I'm going to drop the link right now. Don't trip, gente. We're going to talk about it. Whatever there is to talk about. You know what I mean? Let's air it out. Let's put it all out on the YouTube yarda tonight. Let's update the people. It's Friday night. Feeling good. I got to say, cabron. So hang in there with me. What's cracking, homie Mikey? That's right, X-Rated 559. I see you, cabron. You know what? It's time. Let me go ahead and drop the link. I'm gonna copy the link. If you want to go ahead and if you want to go ahead and join, you could do it. If not, I'll have the phone lines open. I'll try not to mess them up. I promise. Oh man, what's going on with the people on Friday night? I'm gonna get back to these comments because someone said something interesting. They're always something interesting. Güero Liras in the casa. That's right, my boy. I appreciate you. Hey, and not everyone, gente, is likes to be on cameras. Okay. And so if you want, all you got to do is click that button that says no camera, just exit out. And then you don't have to worry about how you look. And some people probably see Chicano Street and they're like, damn, look at the pinchy studio. It's like Hollywood. And no, it ain't got to be like Hollywood. Tap in. As long as you got an internet connection, you can probably tap in. If not, you can hit the phone line before we get into at least 2-3 things that I want to talk about tonight, cabrones. All right? Jaime's in the casa. ¿Qué hubo contigo, güey? He said, Droops and Opina sold out to Alvin and the Chipmunks. I haven't even seen anything regarding that. Droops, I think it was still, it bugs me that he's over there because it was like the Op podcast. It is what it is, right? It was like the Op podcast. And to remind people, and no one said shit back to Lucky. And so Alvin was the first, Banda World was the first one. Alvin was the second one. They didn't say shit. And I'm only talking about those two. They didn't say nothing back. Or else we could have just pulled up and ran the fade. It would have been easy, but Alvin, you got to watch out with people like Alvin. He's a manipulator. He'll tell you what he knows you want to hear. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like he knows how to get inside of a relationship and manipulate people, is the same fucking way he knows how to burn the bridge and cut it off and go all out and then start making videos about their mom. And Alvin has made videos about podcasters' mamas. Is that the representative for the raza? I'm just saying. And then there was another weirdo. He was doing a video about podcasters' wives. Híjole. I would never, I don't give a shit, you know. Some people say they're from the old school, but they're not, like the pendejo dubs. But if you're really from the old school, I would never like a photo of someone's wife, girlfriend, or what. I would never heart someone's photo of someone's wife or someone's girlfriend. I would never send a friend request to someone's wife or to someone's girlfriend. I would never do a favor. Because even a favor, and I know a lot of people don't understand what I'm talking about. It's California shit, unfortunately, huh? Can't even see the temple of Quetzalcoatl. I'm gonna put it over here. We sacrifice lambs like the runner. He was the first pendejo we sacrificed on the temple of Quetzalcoatl. I'll put it right there so you can see it. And the Aztec death whistle. What do you think about this Aztec death whistle, cabrones? Huh? Hit it? Should we blow this one tonight? Should we blow the Aztec death whistle? Let me know, gente. And I'm sorry, I'm missing all the comments. I try to go one by one, but like a pendejo, and then the comments come in later. But I dropped the link, didn't I? No, you don't got to. Serio, you don't have to. There's a phone call too. I mean, there's a phone number on the banner. If I work the phones right? I talked to Norby's today. I said, again, I blew the phones, cabrón. He's laughing. Hey, get this, get that. I'm like, I try to be minimal and shit. You know, I don't want this shit to look like I'm working at NASA. And it's just like I'm on top of this pinchy board and it looks like I'm launching shit. But you know what it is. Anyways, I would never. This is. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm traumatized as hell. Seeing dudes get laid in pools of blood because they called someone's girlfriend wife. They did a favor for someone's girlfriend wife. What's weirdo shit? You send a friend request to someone's wife. That's weirdo shit. Weirdo shit. You heart someone's wife, a friend, say a confidant, say an associate, whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna say friend, okay? A lot of people say homie. Okay, then say the homie. You heart and like one of their pictures. That's weirdo shit. I'm telling you, that's just where it's going right now. Do a favor. I don't care. Out of the goodness of whoever's heart, I see more people get stomped out and get ended. Like, no more, their careers ended. And back in those days, well, when a motherfucker, his careers ended, he's gone, he would just disappear because he knew that was the noble thing to do. But now we don't have nobility, and you'll have guys like Dubs tell on the whole institution, come off, still do, and then come on YouTube and act like a whole different person. Well, the codes of the streets were this. Oh, man. But they say they're from that generation, huh? Sure. Floyd Chavez is in the casa, man. You want to know about sneaker games? My boy Floyd Chavez got the sickest sneaker game on Instagram. I mean, my boy Floyd Chavez could be one of those shows. You know those shows where they take the sneakers? You know, the Jordan J1s or the M1s, whatever they are, right? And Floyd Chavez could be right there and he's getting the sneakers and he already knows his bootleg because he knows the original. He knows the floss. He knows what's quality. He knows the brand, the designer shit. So they look at where the tag is placed, the packaging. That'd be a good show, cabron. Think about doing some shows like that on YouTube, cabron. I know it would take a little. It's a production, huh? Richie Lopes is in the casa. Look at it. He got Santa Muerte on the thing. Hey, mi hermano Kiawi. Hey, shout out to you, cabron. Those little clips. I got like another 10 clips I could load of that one. It was very, very informative. And the Santa Muerte, the funniest thing, my brother, not funny, but educational, he said was he ain't scared of it. It pretty much is, with all due respect. I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone that thinks, there's a Santa Muerte limbo or Santa Muerte heaven or Santa Muerte hell. I'm not. I'm not. If you're living and breathing for something, all respect. Okay. What does his hat say right here? Legalize freedom. Cubo. So yeah, you do you. But he said it's a spin-off. So basically, it's a spin-off of what an indigenous ritual that was already done a long time ago, and it was a knockoff of it because the Spaniards did it. The Catholic Church spun it and made it different. He said just like they change names, they'll add a letter, take a letter. So much shit has happened in all the centuries. And then I also want to address this. I want to address this. Some of the comments are like, Mikey, the last guest is throwing jabs. He's throwing jabs because he said he didn't like the term ni de aquí ni de allá. And let me answer that right now because there was more than one comment. So first of all, cálmense, okay? Cálmense, all right? Second of all, did you see when that clip happened how I laughed? The reason I laugh is because I'm not attached to a term. I'm not attached to a phrase. I'm not attached to any labels. I'm not attached. So I laugh because it was funny what he said. And the way I took mi hermano Kiawi, what he said about the Chicanos que ni aquí ni allá, that's pussy shit. What what I took from that was, Mike, don't forget what you are. And so if you noticed it, we didn't spend a lot of time, mi hermano Kiawi and me, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about nationalistic identities nor ethnicities. We really stayed more on the racial identities because a lot of people are going to get mad. Well, just like another clip that said, well, you want to mix? That's fine. It's all beautiful. Your business, your journey. I couldn't have said it better than my brother said it, right? But don't be mad when the boy, the kid, the girl comes out more güero y güera, and then tries to identify later with the indigenous side. And the real indigenous is what he says. So what he means by real is both parents, right? Or just 100%. You can't doubt it when you see the face. They're not going to accept them. They're not going to accept her. And so to me, it's actually it's actually a perfect understory. It's like a voiceover, what he said for Miklo from Blood In, Blood Out. Risky business. I see you, cabron. Mikey's favorite word is well. Yeah, that's what I would say. When a motherfucker's laying on the ground, he got stomped out. And what do you find out? Oh, he did this to someone's girl. There's some slithery, snaky motherfuckers that they will try to hit on your girl. I'm sure. Like the first slithery, snaky one that comes to mind is the runner. He looks like the kind of cabron that he's done that, got stomped out, and then went back the next day and knocked on the homie's house. That's stupid. That's stupid, There's some slithery little snakes. You just get that vibe from them, right? But yeah, that's what I'd be like. Well, no, back then, well, in the county, well, I was volunteering for that shit. Like a pendejo. P-Dogs in the casa. That's right, cabron. It reminded me of those pinchy little manitas that we used to have when we were kids. You'd buy from the ice cream truck. It's like a little static shit that look just wow, lo aventabas, and then it would grab it, boom, and pull it back. I don't have the sneaker game. That's right, cabron, but I have the sickest derby game. Okay. 22 all colors from the 60s. Show! So, yeah, I lost a lot of the brims. I lost the derbies. I lost jerseys. Bad jerseys, like Pure 39 that I bought right on the pinchy. A lot of people didn't know this. Pure 39. You got the NFL shop on top, and then you got the college shop on the bottom. Everything there inside both of those stores is authentic. So it ain't bullshit. It ain't cheap shit. And you're minimally, and this was back in the 90s, you were going to pay about $350 for one of those jerseys. So imagine right now, if you still had those jerseys, what $350 authentic jerseys would cost, right? Thick ass material, all that. But unfortunately, this was my fault. I blame myself for this. No one else. Is unfortunately, when I had to not be home, you know what I mean. Um, Moms always needed help in moving the house from one place to another, from one place to another. And two or three of the times when she did that, she just got movers or whatever. They took my shit. I had amps missing, speakers missing, CD books missing. I don't know how many derbies and jackets and jerseys and all that shit. Never, ever, ever blame mom. Absolutely not. My mom's too tender and cariñosa. It's crazy. It's like I had one of those moms that I don't even want to think about it. I want to start balling up on the show and shit. Oh, man. All right. I'm going to drop the link. I'll drop the link in case anyone wants to come on and talk about anything and everything because it's Open Talk Live. Baby Love Substance, I appreciate you, amiga. Happy Friday night. Anthony Reeves, de espejo. Y con me emparejo, cabrón. That's right, cabrón. You know who always has a pinche espejo? When I work bodas, cabrón, it's the groomsmen. It could be 8, 9 a.m. in the morning. Ahí tiene un espejo. It never fails. If you know, you know. If you don't, you're better off. That's right. G. Sierra's in the casa. That's right, amiga. I appreciate you, amiga. Pier 39. Órale, pues. Yeah, that was in the Frisco. Frisco used to have city nights. I think it was on Harrison Street. It was a 2-story dance place. Maybe 3, 4, 5 times I went. 3, 4, 5 times. I had some partners that lived way on the north side, way over there by Los Coches. Yeah, over there, Los Coches. And so we used to take off from over there, then come back north side, park our cars there, and then just jam back to the pad, all our different cars, or just crash out there if it was just too much alcohol. But I thought that place was cool, man. So the 90s is right, man. I seen Marvelous. Shout out to Marvelous on Tony's channel saying, what about these rucas? Pinche rucas. That's another Chicano word. What about these rucas that dance like dudes? What about these? Let's not say rucas no more, okay? But the Chicano comes out. I'm sorry, you guys, but let's say the ladies, right? To the ladies that are in there in the comment section, if you are more lady, okay, in your opinion, if the women and the men are dancing alike, is that something like noted? Like, should that happen or not? Because Marvelous even got up and went like this. And then he said back in the 90s, there was more skill involved in dancing. And I do remember that. But the ladies dressed like ladies. And there was all these party crews. Like in Salinas, there was a lot of these little party crews, right? Like the ladies would have party crews like Party Girl Productions, PGP, Naughty Hotties. And some of them were like even Sureña, little ones, Peligrosas, and all this other shit. They used to call in to KHDC. KHDC used to have the poppin' radio shows where people would be checking in. Like right now, they're checking in on Chicano Street. Show! GCR, I appreciate you, amiga. Speaking of the ladies, I scammed hundreds of people. And bro, it's Megan's law, cabron. Weirdos. Okay, we'll talk about that tonight. I got some DMs. Some people send me some clips. Mikey, what do you think of the weirdo that's circulating right now? And he looks like he's getting interviewed and he's picking up steam. Well, I mean, I'm going to say what probably other people are saying. Not that I've heard videos, but what happens is some time goes by and the weirdo gets picks up new traction. And then unfortunately later on, the people that interviewed him are like, fuck, man, I blew it. I didn't do my background check. I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? I used to fuck with the runner. I feel like a pendejo for that. So that's what happens when you don't do background checks. But again, background checks, you guys, it's a California thing. The YouTube yarda, again, it's like fantasy football. But in California, we have the YouTube yarda. That's our, YouTube, whatever you want to call it. And so we joke, we laugh, we bump heads, we get into beefs. But who can talk like a grown ass man though? Can you talk like a grown ass man? Show me. Because we can talk about anything. We don't avoid anything as well, neither. You guys. Corcodor Security, that's right. I appreciate you. My brother from another mother.
It got me eating. The
What's for dinner?
How you doing, man? Oh no, this is dessert, bato. What's that?
I had pozole, cabron.
Hey, snickerdoodles. Oh, you want to see what I have for dinner? I'll show you right now. What's that? What's that? I'll take that challenge. Wes.
Don't forget to subscribe over.
Look at that right there.
Ooh,
See, boy.
Young
Oh,
Ren
good stuff
from
right there.
Young Ren from Doja Click. He coined the word smack plate.
Smack
That-
plate, huh?
Smack
new one.
plate. That's a smack
All right.
plate.
I'll buy that. I'll take that.
I appreciate
What's
you.
up, Reese?
I appreciate you tuning in, cabron. Did you want to cross stream?
Of course.
You know,
Sure,
sometimes
we
you
could do
get.
that. What do I do?
No,
Stream to
it's
my
just-
audience, huh?
Just saying because if the button's available,
Click on stream
it'll
to
start
your
at this pause.
stream this to your audience. Yeah.
It'll start at that point when you hit that button if you want that
All right.
content. Because I want to talk about a couple things.
All right, man. Let's do this then. Let's invite the gente. Stream to your audience. Where to? Well, let's do them all, Holmes. Homie Hangout, Rascal Reacts, Facebook. Oh, Max number 2, Spencer. Okay. Let's see.
Streaming to all destinations right now, live on
is
Chicano
what we're
Street, the
gonna do.
Friday night show. Don't forget to hit that like. We got Rascal Reacts, my favorite
game.
reaction channel. You want
On-
2 cents? He'll give you 5 and sarcasm.
Amen. Tapping game con Chicano too.
I appreciate you, cabron. Gracias for
And,
tapping in.
No, of course. Thank you. Obviously, we touched base a little bit earlier, and I tagged you, but I don't think it showed up. So I'll try to fix that a little bit in YouTube itself in a little bit. But what's going on, man? So I got a new camera. Hey,
Facetune, FaceTime, or
that's why I look so handsome, right? It's the camera. I was having technical difficulties with my last one, and so I purchased this when it just came in today. I was just messing with it, trying to get all the settings and stuff, to have a clear picture.
that's right.
But yeah, so far so good. So what's up, man? How you doing?
We're opening it up. We're talking about. I'm doing good, Carnal. I appreciate you. We're talking about a lot of topics. What did you think about the last host that I had? The last guest that I had. He had a very indigenous perspective. What did you think about that? Christianity, European religion, and he don't want to hear it. If you can give that briefly, and then I got someone else coming on.
Sure.
But go ahead, give me a dissertation, cabron.
So here's the thing, right? We didn't need Josh in HD, huh? So you ain't seen nothing yet. What's
I
up?
think he's looking at
No,
the comments, cabron.
So I saw a little bit of it. It's a narrative that I've heard before, and of course, everybody is entitled to their own beliefs, right? I think it's a deeply personal subject, right? And so I kind of leave it. There, man. To each their own.
Okay, because religion obviously is something personal, and a lot of people were saying in the comments, Mikey, you ain't really, going into it, blah blah blah. No, I'm actually learning. I've never said I'm the final authority on here. I'm soaking as much as I can in. Believe me, gente. I never claimed to be a scholar.
Right.
So I was really wanting to soak in the guests. We had such a great conversation. We have more parts coming up. Definitely a different perspective when you're pure-blooded indigenous, right?
Sure. Right, and that's what I'm saying is
The world is different.
But and I don't think it's appropriate. I certainly don't want somebody to come and tell me that what I believe in terms of spiritual practice is wrong or flawed or anything else. So that's my journey, right? And equally so, I'm not gonna tell somebody else that, right? Of course I may have opinions. I may have thoughts about history and thoughts about groups and all that stuff. Um, but but
Being called a European American, you think that ticks some people off?
I mean, if the shoe fits, homie, like you know what I mean? It's hey, it's I don't think it's a derogatory term, right? It's um again, people have different lived experience, right? And so that lived experience is going to inform the way that they view themselves, the way that they view other people. And I think,
Their
unfortunately, in
upbringing.
this country, yeah, and unfortunately, in this country, we've reached a place where it's like we're not allowed to just agree to disagree. Somebody has to be right and the other one has to be wrong. Nah, bro, sometimes we're just different, and that's okay. I can not agree with you and still respect you, right? Um, I can relate and not like you, frankly, right? Like it varies. It's a case by case. So
But
uh,
respect is a given. We're gonna hear out the
it should be.
view. We're gonna respect off the top until disrespect gets introduced. Risky
Yeah.
business in the casa right here.
What's up,
And
bro?
What's up, fellas? What's up? Can y'all hear me?
oh, I can
Yes,
hear you
sir.
loud and clear, cabron, cabron.
Swallow.
I know you got the Mexican flag right there.
Yes,
I
sir,
think
güey.
I think my last guess was putting more of an emphasis not on the nationalistic, not on the ethnicity, but more on the
Mm-hmm.
racial. And at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, if when I boil it down, the blood that's pumping through these veins are Mexican. So that's why can no one tell me que no soy Mexicano.
Yeah, and the truth is that, I mean, like you said, you can take it as back to when humanity started. You know what I mean? But I mean, you're talking about a long ass time ago. So, are you still the same people that your ancestors were? Is my question. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Mm.
You want to put it in context. Yeah, you want to put it in context. And, because a lot of us know, pues, what happened, happened. It's already written. ¿Qué más podemos hacer? But there's nothing wrong with tapping into the indigenous side now. What about this, Raskizi? What about when he said, when he was talking about mixing
Mm-hmm.
races? Did you hear? Did you see the clip about that?
I saw it and
Okay,
I didn't click on it. It's been kind of a busy couple days on YouTube for me.
I get you. You want me to sum
Uh,
it up for you?
but yeah, please do. What do you say?
Mm. He based Kiawi said, he goes, you do you. Your journey is your journey, right? Who is he going to tell you? But if you want to have inner relationships, don't feel offended when you have a child and he comes out more on the lighter skin side, and then later wants to identify with the indigenous side and the real indigenous. And when he said that, I believed he meant the 100%, like off the top, you could tell they're indigenous, are not going to accept them. Don't feel offended when that happens.
So I would say hopefully he doesn't feel offended when other people don't agree with him, right? Like it's respectfully, um, there is no one authoritative voice, right? In terms of who's accepted, who's not, who's this, who's that. Individuals can look and again they can have opinions and they can have beliefs and that's fine, right? I'm not saying um I'm not saying individuals are right or wrong, right? But
I
go ahead.
yeah no I think that's a contradictory statement on his part because he's speaking on the oppression in Mexico, or the well, not the oppression, but the classism and the
Mm,
colorism when it's from, for lack of better words, from light brown to dark brown,
mm.
right? But then he's saying, well, I guess the question is he saying colorism and classism is okay when it's from dark brown to light brown? You
Right.
know what I mean? That's why it doesn't make sense. That comment
Well,
didn't
the
make
only
sense to
thing
me.
I remember him saying is basically, I mean, what is you go to Mexico, cabron. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you're from Mexico. I mean, pinchy risky. We know
Right.
over there that the lighter skin tones
Mm-hmm.
will talk shit about the ones. They'll call them pinche gente corriente, or they call them de
Right.
rancho. But no, and then if you notice, all the superstars on those soap operas, they're all the lighter skin.
Mm-hmm.
What's
So
going on?
Is it because they're better actresses?
Based on talent.
right is so, but here's where I think
You have a problem digesting. I'm
no,
just kidding.
it's it's kind of selective politicking, right? So is anti-blackness real? Of course, right? And I don't say black as in African Americans in the United States, right? I mean anti-blackness in terms of skin tone, right? Of course it is. Does it exist in Mex? Yes. Does it exist here? Yes. Is colorism real? Of course it is. Can we look at colorism and say, well, this probably has something to do with Spaniards and colonialism and which individuals were made laborers versus which individuals had privilege, which individuals had resources, right? You see the same thing with Cubans, right? You have light-skinned, very wealthy Cubans that tend to come from or historically, right, for an era of Cuban history, tended to be those that were more privileged, right, more well off. And then you had the Moreno Cubans, right, the darker skinned ones who tended not to be. And there's a lot of factors behind that, right? There's politics behind that. There's
Órale. Don't tell
I
me you're showing
see.
me Santa
There's
Muerte, way. There you
so
go, the Grim
so
Reaper, cabrón.
there there is there's a
Bendito,
lot of
dice.
reasons for that, right? That is what it is. That is something that can be challenged. That's something that people adopt. It's a culture that folks have adopted. But
Raskizi,
to then
but
turn
he
around
said,
and
excuse me, he said there was no black or there was no white on this continent before the indigenous. What do you think? Is that true?
black and white are racialized terms. These are not scientific terms,
Right, but
right?
that's why he was saying when Cortez pulled up, they didn't know anything about races. All they knew was the brown folk that were everywhere, that they were killing, that were pillaging, they were going to war with, they were making allies with, they were doing trade with, politicking against, with, everything,
Right.
the social norms. And he was saying there was no black or white on this continent. That's why they didn't know the concept of racist. That was interesting when he said that.
There's probably some truth to that. But that doesn't mean that they didn't know all the same prejudices and discriminations and favoritisms and all that other stuff, right?
Who
They
said there was no blacks, Mikey?
Kiawi, we're talking about the beginnings of Mesoamerica. I had asked them just a lot of questions. One of them, I said, was that there was no black natively. That means came, sprung up, or was on the land. Or he said there was no black or Caucasian. Because the first question I asked them was, so there was no pale skin ever then on this continent. And he was
Well,
saying, no, there were shades. I'm sure there
right.
were shades, but the concept of race could have been the reason that Cortez came and we got duped. The raza got duped, or they got
well,
duped.
well. It is fact that the Olmecs was the first known civilization in Mesoamerica. No,
I believe
That's
so.
what a lot of
Yes.
YouTube videos say.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
and well, I mean, the statues are there, right? And they can
Right. Right.
carbon date all that shit. And they were known to be, dark people.
They were darker for sure.
So that there wasn't, darker, I don't know about that.
Right. I think there was a spectrum, right? There was shades. Some of it just has to do with how fucking close you are to the sun. Like the shit ain't necessarily rocket science, right? Um,
Melanin, melatonin.
it's right. I think racism is definitely a social construct, right? It's something that was developed to serve a purpose, to serve economics. United States racism, right? So not Western Hemisphere racism, but United States racism has evolved, right? White has evolved. Italians didn't used to be white. Fucking the Irish weren't even necessarily white, right? The Polish weren't right. There are a lot of people who are white in the U.S. now did not used to be white, right? They were adopted into whiteness for the purposes of economics and control, right?
So the
You
color of that
had
skin.
Raza who fought in Texas in court, and they went to the Supreme Court, Mexicans arguing, hey, fool, we're white. We want to be listed as white. We want our racial category to be white. Because what they viewed was that's a hell of a lot better than being black because we see what's happening to these people, right?
Where was that you said that happened?
That was in Texas. That was in Texas.
Well, you're talking about his
God, I
neck of the
gotta look
woods
up.
right here.
I gotta look up the year. I mean, you're talking a long time ago. This is not recently, but you're talking early days of Texas, and there was court cases down there of a Mexican family and him arguing that he didn't want to be uh,
Now
racially classified with the whole census thing.
let me ask you guys this. He said that was the biggest Holocaust, bigger than the Holocaust. Damn, that probably got the pinche stream taken unmonetized right there. Do you think it to be true when you compare the two?
I don't think that it's.
What the natives got as opposed to what they got in Israel?
I
You don't know the numbers on the native side, do you? I don't know what the numbers are on the total, but they went from 20 million to
I think
6 million.
I think those are semantics, bro, and that's
Yeah, I don't think it's important.
You know what I mean? Like one worse than the other. Both tragic, both fucked up scenarios. Just on opposite sides of the world. But I mean,
Crazy though, man.
I don't to try to justify one or whatever. Like I don't think that comes into play. For anything really.
Yeah, I don't think there's value in oppression Olympics, right? Like it's. I don't.
I get it. Like you can use that to cling on to
way.
keep the bad sentiment or whatever, right? Like you can use it, but is it valid? Like in a knowledgeable conversation, I don't know, bro.
I might have another brother on the podcast. He runs an IG page, and I think it's called Indigenous Nightmares of America. I'm looking forward to that conversation. It's gonna be a good one, cabrón.
But look,
I'm trying to. Yeah, go ahead.
Really, what I got from the conversation with Kia, what was
Kiawi. Yep.
And shout out to the Vata if he's watching, right? Or if he watches this. But so he has a bad sentiment towards Mexico being established, right? Can we agree on that?
I didn't get that. I think he tried to put that on Norby's more than him. Did you get that?
I did, bro, because
okay.
If you ask him like pues que es, he's gonna say he's indigenous, right? Like they're not going with Mexicano, right? Because he said
Nahua.
If you say you're 100% Mexicano, like that's a fallacy, like that's not real, right? Because he said that, and I don't have to understand it, right? But my opinion on the bad sentiment towards Mexico, is that the birth of Mexico, right? The independence, both indigenous and mestizos fought alongside for that inequality, right? That now the mestizos were maybe a step above the indigenous, right? But they still didn't have the power, the say so that maybe the criollos had, right? Which the criollos were a step above the mestizos. Now, Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla was actually a criollo himself, right? Criollo meaning born in the Americas to Spaniard parents, right?
And most of the Mexican presidents were straight looking from Spain, ¿verdad? Yeah, they were, cabrón. They're all güeros.
Yeah. I mean, it's
except Benito Juarez, and then they talk shit about him because he had darker skin.
Well, you're talking about 300 years past. You know what I mean? From
it's relevant now. No, I'm just
from when the Spaniards arrived to the Grito de Dolores. You know what I mean? The independence beginning. 300 years passed, bro. You know what I mean? So naturally they would. Look.
Well, let me ask you this, Josh. How accurate do you think those DNA ancestries are, or is it just a fast buck hustle you or is there some? Have you heard of any stories that are like, damn, they uncovered 2 3 generations on top that I didn't know of?
No, I think their accuracy is, how was it explained to me? The accuracy is limited to basically the research that they've already done, right? What they have in their pool to compare it to. So
Mm.
there's different populations of people that it's much less accurate for them than it is for others, just because these companies, whatever they're measuring it against, whatever they're looking at to tell them, oh,
Records.
this DNA points to this area, but there's areas where they don't have a large sample of them, right? So I think I had heard it in the context of the Polynesians at some point, right? That their ancestry tests were were kind of off, and were a little more broad and generic just because the sample size they had, or whatever, was off. So I did hear that. I think there's some truth to it, some validity to it,
So what kind of records do they
but
have? Birth? Are they looking at documents, or are they pulling blood lab pinchy
that's what I'm
results?
saying is
Oh,
I
okay.
don't recall what it is that they draw from. You know what I mean? I don't remember
Yeah.
what that system is that they look to say, hey, when I test your blood, Mikey, and I'm looking at your DNA, this DNA traces to here, that DNA traces to there. But it's based somewhat, at least, on kind of what they already have. So essentially, the more people who get tested, the more DNA that they get, the theory
Ah.
is the more accurate it will become in time. But
So
if
the
there's not a lot of people getting tested with
ah.
DNA that's similar to yours, then your test is not going to necessarily be as
Yeah.
accurate. If you take a
Yeah.
test now and you take a test in 30 years, you may have somewhat different results because it'll be more refined by then. So I think it
Funky
varies.
Memo. Funky Memo says one test that uses saliva. Yeah, well, I'm not confused because I know where my parents are from, grandparents. On my dad's side, I got about 4 or 5 generations going up. And then on my mom's side, I think I have 1 or 2. So, a lot of people argue the lineage, right? I was talking with Kiawi, and he was saying it's based on the tribe. Some tribes, it looks like they'll go off the dads, and sometimes they lean toward the matriarchal side. And what he was talking about in that one short that I uploaded, I'm like, shit. He described Miklo because
But see that
he was saying don't get mad when the child doesn't get accepted. And I was like, shit. That was Miklo's problem. He looked so the other side
right.
of the chromosomes. The genes were so dominant on the dad's side.
Mhm.
He always had a problem. And I'm like, shit, I didn't realize that till after I uploaded it. I'm like, damn, he described Miklo.
But again, though, so I think this is where things get tricky, right? Is there's science and then there's culture, and those are not always the same thing, right? So when people say, well, this is what matters more, right? That's a cultural value,
Yes.
right? That's not science. That's your belief, right? If you go somewhere else, those people may say something different, right? You you have groups of indigenous groups in various parts of the world that were very matriarchal, right? They were women led, right? They were matriarchal societies. The women were kind of put on a pedestal. Then obviously you have some that are patriarchal, right? And that's kind of the more common and the one we hear more about. But depending on what society you're growing up in, or what society or what culture your beliefs are influenced by, is what you're going to say is more important. But
Okay.
does that mean, is that valid again in a sense of science? Not necessarily. It's important, not important, better, worse, good, bad. Those are all value judgments. And we get our values from a variety of different sources, right? And so to then say, I don't know, does that make sense?
No, it does. But I want to ask risky business. But so does this make sense to you, Cabron? Risky. It should be their own people. It should be the people that set that standard, right? Like say tú eres Mexicano. okay, so you would know more of your culture, the upbringing, the growing up. Anyone
Yeah,
wants to say I
yeah,
belong there, shouldn't it be the own people that do that?
yeah. Of course, because like you said, if you know where your parents were born, you know what I mean. If you know where your grandparents were born, if you know what state um in Mexico you're from, right? And then if you go before that, if you know you get to know what actual tribe you come from, right? Well, then how can anybody tell you any different?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna switch subjects real quick. When you came on, Raskizi, I saw some of the last videos that you were dropping. I got some messages, and this is about a person has been coming on YouTube, circulating around. They were doing interviews, and the person, it seems like the person went away from YouTube for a couple years, came back. People didn't know that there was some fucked up charges, fucked up shit, and now it's kind of like people don't know what's going on. There's certain things that no matter what, you cross the line and there's no coming back from. I like your videos, Reskizi. That's why you're my favorite reaction channel, cabron. You break it down to a pinchy science. And so some people were messaging me about all that's going on. I'm like, look, the YouTube Yarda is wild. I'll tell you that right now. It's hot and it is wild. So these characters, look, if you want to stay up on game, just go to Chemos Flix's channel. Go
Mm-hmm.
Rascal Reacts, Homie Hangout. Go to these channels and you'll be able to find out what's going on. It's a bad look once you bring a weirdo on the channel. It's a bad look once you get someone that has anything to do with that. And once you hear that, once you hear like what it was done, that should automatically be the. And I like what you were talking about, Raskizi. It was a different culture, like 3, maybe even 4 decades ago, a whole different shit. But you got to put shit in its right context. It's 2024. This fucking guy, he did what he did, and there's other people that I put in that basket with that cabron also as well.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm trying to tell the people, be careful. You're just logging on
Right.
YouTube. Be careful, Raskizi. Gracias for that. You dropped that knowledge, cabron.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. And
You backed it
I
up. Also,
don't.
I think there was PDFs, or I think there was JPEGs or other things, just so people don't think shit's getting
Oh
made
yeah.
up
This.
because nothing's getting made up.
No. So one thing I don't do. I don't come on YouTube and lie. That doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but I don't come on here and lie. And if I'm gonna say something about somebody else, I think my track record speaks for itself in terms of I do my homework, before I say it, right? So that I don't have to turn around and put my foot in my mouth and be like, oh damn, bro, my bad, right? Um, and and so in this case, um, in this case, I I feel like on some level, look, man, people are gonna decide whatever they want to decide. Again, I'm not here to tell people what to do or how to do it or what to think. I'm giving over information, right? I felt like the information was valuable for people to know. Those rumors had circulated some years ago. I didn't make any videos about it back then. I didn't make any videos about that person back then. I was aware of newspaper articles. I was not aware of
Mm.
court paperwork. And I would not put a jacket on somebody based on a newspaper article, right? Even though odds are, if there's a newspaper article written about you, and it's probably pretty accurate if it's coming to criminal charges or whatever, right? But but I wouldn't do that, right? Just personally. Court paperwork is a different story, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
court paperwork that anybody can Google and find online from reputable court paperwork websites. Not me holding up a piece of paper, say, "Hey, look what I got." But only I have it. You can't see it. Actual paperwork that you can look up.
And I heard
To
I
me
heard
has credibility.
I heard a EBK video, and he said Raskizi knows how to research
Right. And so, well, and
better than
honestly,
me.
well, and you had put it out there.
Shout out
Chemo's
to
Flicks.
EBK, carnalito.
Oh yeah,
Positive energy,
prayers
prayers
to
to
Cornell,
you, and
man.
positive energy.
And you had mentioned Chemo's Flicks a second ago, and really, that's what brought me to make the video. Is I seen Chemo's Flicks, and in his video, I seen that there was actual paperwork, right? People versus Valdez, and I was like, hold on, this is not a newspaper article. So then I went and looked at the paperwork, right? I went and found the paperwork myself, and looked at it, and while the paperwork is kind of about another issue, it is very clear about those S offense charges, what they are, what the accusations were, what the plead was, what the consequence was, everything else. The paper is very clear about that. It leaves no questions, right?
Damn, son, where'd
And
you find
so,
this one?
uh, and so that's that,
No,
right?
I
For
appreciate
me,
you. I appreciate you doing that research. Because yeah, it's just to bring awareness. You know what, gente, these fucking people could disappear for a little bit and then come on back. But we're still here. It's been a couple years, and the real
right?
recognize
And
the real. Hey, risky. No, you want to switch notes, or you want something else to say?
no, I was just gonna say it's one thing though that I personally that I don't want to keep doing. Honestly,
Dime.
is talking about it, right? I people keep get. I won't watch the individual's content anymore, right? I did watch their first reaction after my video, just to kind of see what they had to say, and I'm not watching anything else. People send me clips, other people do reactions, so I do see little stuff, but it's lie after lie after lie after lie. And I could make a full-time job over following behind everything he says and pointing out all the BS. But there's no value in that. I don't think it's a good use of my time. I don't think it's a good use of my platform. Either you believe it or you don't. I feel like I have explained everything as clearly as I can. I have answered some questions in the comments.
Yeah,
I have discussed it at length. I did a very concise video in which I broke it all down. So at this point, if somebody believes it or not,
yeah,
or whatever, that's on them. But I'm not going to keep drawing attention to it. I'm not taking
yeah.
the video down, of course. But Santa Muerte, there you go. Um,
Pinche risky. Don't
I'm
go
letting
nowhere,
it go.
cabron. I got a question for you right now.
So that's all. That's all.
No, you know
Uh,
what? I thank you for that because these cabrones again, me, Raskizi, where I'm at now in my life. I'm a businessman. That's all I see. I'm trying to, I'm a family man. More
yeah,
importantly, I'm a family man trying to leave a legacy for the kids. But certain shit won't change. Someone asked me, "Would you get Takashi 6ix9ine in the ring?" I'm like, hell yeah, and we'll do some crazy numbers. But what we won't do is ever mess with diddlers.
right.
What we're not gonna do is mess with weirdos. Okay, I'm gonna go and grab another brewski. But before I do that, risky. There's a question I want to ask you because for some reason I'm getting this energy from you. You're the representative of Mexico. You're the one that speaks for the Mexicanos. So risky. Give
¿Qué
me
onda?
your definition. What do you call a Mexicano? Who's a Mexicano and who's not a Mexican? Who's not a Mexicano? And let me go grab a brew.
Bueno, dale. I'll wait for you. Dale.
How you been, man?
Chilling, man. Chilling.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually I truck drive, bro, as you can see, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I'm sitting just south of Chicago right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a
Central Moving
lot of
One.
raza. There's a lot of Mexicans in Chicago.
There's a lot of raza everywhere, bro.
Right. It's
I was in a little town called Guyman, Oklahoma, the panhandle of Oklahoma. I never
okay.
been there. I never been there. It's a little ass fucking town. Um, so I got to drop there, right? So I go to the Walmart, just to shoot the shit. I had some time. Nothing but Mexicanos in there, bro. I feel
Right.
like I was back at home, South Texas. That's where I'm
Right.
from. So there's the raza everywhere, bro. The least place that you think there's raza. I
So
was
who's a
actually at
Mexicano? Who's a Mexicano? Is
um,
it you have to be born in Mexico? Is it you have to look the pinchy part? Because you call in all the time, and I wasn't gonna let you go without asking you this shit. I know you want to get this off your chest. Who's a Mexicano then, and who's not?
all right. To me, a Mexicano is you're born to Mexican parents, right?
Hmm.
And you have Mexican grandparents. And you also have the costumbres. This is a word that isn't used a lot. I hear cultura a lot, right? But I don't hear costumbres. And the costumbres are, the language, the
Mhm.
food, and the culture. So to me, that's a Mexicano. You know what I mean? We could get technical and say, well, you have to be born in Mexico? Yes. I say it's the whole package. You know what I mean? So yes, because if you're not born in Mexico, don't you guys call yourselves Mexican American?
Do we call ourselves that, or we got hit with that label? Because every time I try to register to vote and all that, the boxes are slim. I mean, the pickings are slim. I got to identify as an Alaskan,
Yeah.
or I got to identify as
Yeah.
an other.
And look, check it out, bro. It's really all fucking terms that we can take it back and then it all falls apart, right? But for
Mhm.
example, Mexican American, who's a Mexican American, right? And we'll go back to the who's a Mexicano. But just so you can see how the terms work, right? So, okay, Mexican American, can you really be a Mexican American? I would
Mhm.
say to be a Mexican American, you have to have one Mexican parent and one white parent.
Mm.
That
Oh,
makes you
wait a second.
that
What the?
that that makes you a Mexican American, right?
Nothing wrong with that, but wait, whoa, whoa.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying to be a true Mexican American, right? You would have to have. So okay, so to be a
But can any
right,
people claim America? The Weddles
well,
weren't even here. I mean,
well,
all due respect, Caucasians weren't here first.
well, that's just what I said. When
Who
we
has a
start
claim to
breaking,
America?
that's just what I said. When we start breaking the words down, it all falls
Mhm.
apart. It unravels, and
Raskizi, who has the biggest claim to America?
So
we
the funny
do.
thing is, the United States is
We
arrogance,
do.
right?
We do.
the
We only own 30%. Wait, they only took 30% from us. We
But we're
do.
from the
the
American continent
right,
originally.
and that's the point, right? Is the U.S.'s arrogance would have folks believing that if you come from within the confines of the continental United States or Alaska, apparently over there, or Hawaii out in the middle of the fucking ocean, that makes you American, right? But America is a whole continent, right? It's North America, South America, Central America. So Americanos is like half the globe, land wise. And better not half, but a
See,
big chunk comes a big chunk, like
mm,
the bottom to like this whole area, whole Western Hemisphere. So it depends if you're talking about nationalism, national identity, right? Because from a nationalist point of view, I think a Mexican is somebody born in Mexico. But I agree with Risky Business in terms of culturally and custom wise. No, because you could be born in Mexico and walk over and live your whole life in the United States,
Right.
and you're not a represent you're not what people would say authentically Mexican, right? But yet you can have somebody who never lived in Mex and wasn't born in Mex and was born here in the US, but culturally and custom wise
mm.
is absolutely Mexican, right? So and that's where the divisiveness of these terms and this language and this
But
it gets tricky.
Mexico has never claimed the word America. We
No,
don't.
that's what I'm
Mexico has
saying. It's
never
the
given a shit about it.
arrogance.
So who has
No,
the rightful claim to America?
Well,
Who came up with the
I
pinchy word? How about that? Does anyone know who came
well,
up with the word America?
wasn't
well,
that
look,
the Vespucci America, right? Wasn't that his name? Something like that.
check it out, Mikey. You just brought up a good point that Mexico has never claimed the term America, right? And I think that's just because, again, like I told you the other day, a lot of that stems from the Mexican pride, right? Stems from the Mexican American War, right? Like that's where it's like, hey, somos mexicanos, son americanos, son los
Mm.
gringos, somos los mexicanos, you know? So there's a lot of pride there that, that somos mexicanos, son
That's funny
americanos.
as hell, man. They started calling them gringos. That's funny as hell, man.
It's facts though, you know what
Los
I mean?
gringos.
Yeah. But um, it is what it is, you know what I mean? So who's a Mexicano? Somebody that has the Mexican costumbres. I say you gotta have Mexican parents, Mexican
Mm-hmm.
grandparents, born in Mexico. You know what I mean?
Okay, what about this
Cause
though? What about no Spanish or like Kiawi said yesterday? He actually used the term Castellano. If that's
Mm-hmm.
the original
Right.
language, does a Mexican have to know that?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so because that's the tongue of
Even though it's
Spain.
the adopted language,
No, no. Well, see
it's the
that's
adopted language, right?
that's the misconception.
Or am I living on
Castellano,
another planet? Is that not the
Cas,
adopted language?
no, Castellano is spoke uh, in Spain.
In Spain, that's the vos voto. That's yeah. That's the
Vosotros,
right, right.
all that shit.
Hella
Oh,
fancy.
okay. So we have a
Yeah,
knock. Mexico has a knockoff version, Spanish version.
it's
Because when you say
it's a
Spanish,
mixture. It's a
that
Yeah.
mixture.
sounds
Yeah,
more like you're talking about the people.
yeah, but again, that's just people here in the United States that don't live in Mexico. You know what I mean, or don't have family back in Mexico that just go with whatever they hear. You know what I mean, like because I've been trying to explain this to people for the longest that like Spanish, you know what I'm saying, in Mexico, is our language. You know what I mean? Now they're gonna say, well, no, our language is Nahuatl. And I beg to differ. I say that was our ancestors'
Mm-hmm.
language, but ours is Spanish. You know what I mean? Because in Spain they speak Castellano.
Yeah.
And Nawa, there's several different dialects of Nawa, right? It is an indigenous language of tribes.
One of
It's
many,
it's it's the one that there's the best records of,
right?
right? To be able to now point to, but some of the unfortunate reality of colonialism and wars and wiping people out, right, is now and this happens, I think, with indigenous people from all over the world, right, from all over the globe. Now in more modern times, they're forced to kind of look backwards and put the pieces together with the remnants of what is known. There is
Mm.
a huge vast of the unknown that there's just not remnants of, right? So you kind of got to work with what you have, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Of course, it beats not having anything to work with, but this absolutism of that everybody smoke Nawa. Oh, line up 100 people, you're gonna have 75 different dialects of Nawa for one, and then line up another 1,000 people that had languages that there's no record of, that we don't know, that we didn't hear, or
What
that there's not
what got
enough
me
record of.
what got me confused was I've always heard of Nawa as a language, but he was saying I'm Nawa.
It's a people. It's the
It's a
language
people
of a
of the
people,
people, right?
But
right?
I thought the brother was Mexica. That's why I was getting confused. I'm like Nawa, that's the people, but I thought it was Mexica, the people. And I was confused, and I just got to be honest because shit. Again, I don't know all these things. I'm learning with everyone. That's why I love having these guests. There's other special guests coming up real soon. Matter of fact, the Brown Berets got back to me on IG, and let's have that conversation of what the modern Brown Berets are doing right now, what the journey has been, and how does it apply to right now, what we're going through now in 2024. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I can't wait to have that conversation. I appreciate everyone that's in the chat. That's right, you guys. Hit that pinchy like. We
Yes,
got
sir.
Rascal Reacts in the casa. We got the homie hangout. And of course, we got Risky Business. Risky. Anything else you want to get off your chest, cabron? This is your debut on
Hey,
YouTube.
hey,
A face to the name.
tú dime, güey. Shit, I'm open to anything.
You're the one that gives the Mexicans the Mexican blue check mark. If you don't
I,
say they're Mexican, then they're not Mexican. Just like if
I,
we
ha-
don't say they're Chicanos, they're not Chicanos.
I have to, bro, because nobody's speaking for it, right?
Well,
And
let me
I hear a
Risky.
lot of watered down shit, but not factual shit.
Did you get offended when Kiawi said about the Chicano phrase? I want to get Rascal thoughts on this. When he said the phrase that's commonly said, ni de aquí, ni de
Mm,
allá.
that's
Did
a
you get
good one.
offended what he said about it?
Me personally, I didn't get offended. I understand him because he's nowhere near the border for that to affect him, right? But check it out. Me
Mm-hmm.
personally, we've always been from the north part of Mexico, right? South part of Texas. Where I live at in Texas, It's about a 30-minute drive to my mom's house in Mexico, right? So
Mm.
we've always been there. So us that live there, that we can't say that ni de aquí ni de allá because we have the costumbres of Mexico, but we live over here, and the actual the actual border, right, did affect us because
Mm.
if it would have been 20 miles north,
Right.
right? Well, where I live now would still be Mexico, right?
Mm.
But if it would have been 20 miles south, then we would have been in Texas. So we can use that term validly and say ni de aquí ni de allá because we're from both places. We have both cultures. We're fluent in both languages, Spanish and English. As a matter of fact, we make our own, right? Spanglish, and that's just the culture. So did I get offended? No. Do I understand what he's talking about? Yes. But
I had
you
some
know,
people that got offended. They were like, "Oh man, Mikey, that was a staple of the movement." And again, I've never had a scholar, someone that knows the whole Chicano movement history. Raskizi, you know anything about the ins and outs of what happened during the Chicano movement of the '70s?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a scholar of the Chicano movement of the '70s. Is it something that I've read up on and studied? Sure. Is there more that I don't know than what I do? Yeah, because there's a ton of history there. Um, I will tell you.
that's
Uh,
night work, bro.
huh?
He's talking
Oh,
about the comments are wild.
I
Hit that pinchy, like the comments are always like the wild,
Big
wild
dog
west.
that's
shit.
it.
Let them
You never know.
gunsling. Go.
So I had a professor in college, right? Chicano studies professor. I
Okay.
had a few that were dope, but this one in particular, and I'm gonna kick myself. See, if I had study notes before I was coming on to know what we was talking about, then I could have worked on
Prepared.
the wheels a little bit. But I can't recall his name now. But he
UC
lived in
Berkeley.
Oakland. He was a professor, and he was a part of the Chicano movement, right? The labor movement, the Chicano movement in Tejas, right? From Tejas, there's little documentaries that were done out there.
Mm.
And around the farm worker time, but like when Chavez was kind of first going out there, so they did a little movie about him. We watched the movie, and he's out in the fields and he's organizing labor and that kind of stuff. I just can't remember his name right now, right? But I'll find it and let you know. Anyways,
He puts in work though.
he we studied all kinds of stuff, right? And talked about all kinds of stuff. But this is an individual that was frontline, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
To use today's language. And he said, which I thought was interesting, not a claim that I would feel comfortable or qualified making, right? But
Mm.
he said it, and I feel like he's qualified to say it. He said, this whole quest for Aztlan that we were on, right? And we wanted our land back. We wanted our land because we, as marginalized people, yeah, irony. That's where he was at CSM. Uh, he said we, as marginalized people,
Mm.
adopted the nationalism of the United States, right? And just dressed it up in the Chicano movement and we want our own land. You took our land, we want our land. The Africanos, they wanted their land. Everybody wants their own land now. And he said, what if the U.S. government would have said, fine, go ahead. We would have no idea what to do, right? We didn't have the economic. Who are we going to send where? How are we then going to go through the population and be like, you get sent to this country, you get sent to that country, you get to stay here, you have to move here, you have to this, you have to that, right? It was a rallying cry to inspire folks, but it was embracing a mentality and a mindset that was also divisive and toxic out at the same time, right? So he's like, it was beautiful and harmful in the same vein, right? which is kind of all in his terms was kind of all social movements, right? He's like, look, we were young, we were angry, we were burned, we were learning how we were burned, we were getting educated, we were learning about the land grant stuff in Texas and how our property was stolen. We
And
were
it's
learning about how
another movement that was birthed from some sort of oppression.
right. We were learning we were starting to learn about our history, right? And we were learning English is not the first language. A lot of us, we grew up and our parents grew up going to these English language schools in the United States, and they had to wear dunce caps. Chavez talks about having to wear a dunce cap in school because he spoke Spanish and everything else. And all of a sudden we're there and we're learning that there is no national language to the United States, right? That part of the treaty was that we get to retain our native religion and we get to retain our native tongue and we don't have to conform and assimilate to the United States ways, right? And yet obviously that's exactly what happened is our land got taken, our language was, so we were inspired and passionate and motivated, but we were also Americanized in our, hey, well, this is your land, this is our land, it's our people, your people, this group,
Yeah.
that group, and all the segregation and the labeling and the putting people into boxes, which the US did. And he's like, that wasn't really the way, though. That's not our people's way. That's the American side of us because we still grew up in this country. So we're trying to tap in, and it was just,
Pinche
it
rescues
wasn't
you
this
there.
neat and clean and pretty linear logical thing. It was, it was messy, Holmes. And when he put it that way, because and he was, he's kind of a vulgar dude, right? And a lot more of a blunt person. But he was like, well, if they turned around, I was like, okay, fine. Here's Aztlan, right? Which again, it
When you're saying Aztlan, you is that the same thing as Aslan?
yeah, Aztlan,
Oh, okay,
Aztlan.
gotcha,
And
gotcha.
so, my understanding is that was always looked at as a mythical place, not as a physical place. In then in the 60s and in the 70s in particular, they started comparing, right? You're looking at the history books of this land, and then you're looking at, like Risky Business was saying, the Mexican American War, and like, oh, I could put two and two together, right? This is the land that was taken from us.
I want to ask Risky, what does Risky Business know about Aslan?
Aslan.
A mythical place, because there's a lot of maps on online that say Aslan was the 30% of the United States country, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Utah, Colorado. They say it was a 30%. They call the land that was taken after the
Right.
Mexican American War Aslan. Is that historically true?
Well, actually, it was more than 50% of the land that was lost or taken or whatever, right? But Aslan is a mythical place, but the word myth, it's only a myth because till till today they don't know where it's at exactly. But they do know that it's a place and that it's out there somewhere, but they just can't pinpoint where it is. But in the codices, there is a story of a migration from north to south, right? So that's in the codex. Um, so mythical, just in the sense that they don't know where it's at, right? But it is a place. They did migrate from the north to the south. Where
So
it
what are you saying?
started,
It's a mythical promised land?
mythical promised land. No,
I
I
mean,
guess
what is it? A place that one day, because remember the Crucito was painting the bomba and blah, 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 shh, 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 shh.
what
Quetzalcoatl's going to come back one day, restore it, take us back to Aslan. And I'm
what
like, if Aslan was just the northern territory, one thing is wanting that territory to belong back to Mexico, but is there some kind of pinchy fantasy story where the people are going to get swept up? And I don't know. I might have had too many modelos.
um that's the thing that I'm saying that people use a mythical place, right? But if you take the word mythical, it's an actual place that's somewhere. Like I said, it's a myth just because they still not even scholars, archaeological
Mhm.
dudes, not professors. They don't know where it's at, right? But something that's interesting is that I believe it's the Hopi Indian. They have a similar story of of a group of people from their tribe branching off and migrating south.
Mm.
So look at that and look at how that's connected. And the
Risky
Hopi,
business. Norby's just commented right now and said it's in Oaxaca,
oh
cabron.
man,
Aslan. So that's the
no,
tierra prometida. That's the promised land. That's the Mecca. And Norby's is always
look
biased.
what
Este
what
cabrón, he's always biased.
what I want to say with the where I think where the mythical comes into place is where the Chicano takes it and spins it and puts it into their art, puts it into their.
Mhm.
That's where the myth is, right? But to actual scholars, right, in Mexico, it's just a myth in that sense that they don't know where it's actually at. You know what I mean?
So it just sounds good when Crucito said the promised land. One day Quetzalcoatl is coming back.
Yeah.
It,
Well, I mean, yeah, he
wait a
said,
second, but is that a common
But that's the
belief?
romanticism, right? Like
No, no,
that's
but wait a
part
second.
of the culture.
Is that a true belief though that
it
Quetzalcoatl is
was
coming back? That
it
he's
was
resurrecting?
well, it was for them, you know what I mean? But
No,
you
but is
know,
it still a belief? Does anyone know if
I don't know.
Quetzalcoatl is like a Jesus waiting to come back figure
Well, it's
Mm.
because look, check it out.
to
That's
them,
a
to that
the,
culture?
well, that goes deep way because if you start to look at different groups of people, different religions, different beliefs, it's all intertwined, and then you find out that it's actually the same story, right?
Mhm.
The Trinity, right? The resurrection, shit like that. It the same views, they have throughout different groups of people, right? So, but that's like I said, that's deep shit. That's a
Right.
rabbit hole.
No, well, let's
But
talk about it now, cabron.
look, no,
Before
check it.
you load your Lex load and take
But
off.
but look, check it out. I want to bring this up and get you guys' thoughts on this. Um, what do you guys think about the people um that Rascal was speaking on right now that got affected by the territory being lost, right? Of them, I think they're the original and true Chicano people, right? Because they ended up they were Mexicans, right? And then they went from living in now in American territory, but they weren't Americans. So the white man didn't, thought less of them, saw them as inferior, and they didn't have the same rights. So they were the first, brown people to be oppressed, by the whites.
Mhm.
Um, so what do you think about their descendants being Chicanos, right? Because okay, so you have what was the common definition of a Chicano? A first generation born in the United States of Mexican parents, right?
The
I
standard. That's the standard definition.
I say that I would call that just you're still just a Mexican that's born in the United States. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't change because your parents are Mexican, right? And just because you're born in the United States, you're still a Mexican. So
Mm.
I don't think that you'd be the true Chicano, right? No offense, this is just my thoughts. I think the true Chicano is a descendant of those people that were well, I'm in fucking I'm in Illinois right now, but that where you guys are at, you know what I mean? And that's the Chicano, or otherwise, what happened to those people? What are they? What do they become?
Well, I think the first Chicanos were children of maybe it was around where you're at, cabrón, the Texas border, right? Because
We don't
these
we
had to
don't
be
acknowledge
children,
that.
but these had to be children of Mexicans that were close to the pinchy border way. O sea, they were crossing over every day to go to work. And as they're crossing over every day to go to work, again, back then the border was just a line in the sand. As they're crossing over every day to go to work, they're starting to have kids. And now they're having kids on the US side. And I think those were the first ones, right? I mean, well, no, there's other stories of people migrating also as well.
Except
But
that in Texas, way we don't use the word Chicano. We don't have that. That doesn't exist for us. You have
Has that
Mexicano.
always been the case?
I I believe so. Especially I don't know towards El Paso. It's a little bit more over there from
Okay.
where I'm at, just at the tip of Texas. You know what I mean? Um, you have Mexicano or you have Tejano, right?
Hmm.
But then you go back to the Texas pride of Texas being its own territory, right?
Right.
shout
But
out to Cualcoman, Michoacan. Jaime says Michoacan is the promised land because Norby said Oaxaca was the
but
promised land. Anyways, go ahead.
so in Texas, right, South Texas, where I'm from, all the way up to Houston, right, following the coastline, even up to Dallas. Chicano is not that's Yas culture. Whoever uses it
Hmm.
in Texas knows that's Yas culture. You know what I mean? But we don't have that.
Huh.
We don't have Chicanos.
It's interesting because I would, but obviously as somebody not from Tejas, right? A lot of the, LA is looked at like kind of the mecca of the Chicano identity, right? I think by a lot of people, right? Uh, but Tejas, in terms of the revolutionary activism that's associated with the Chicano movement, Tejas was cracking, right? It's and like I said, the land grant stuff, Reese, Tijerina, those guys, Corky Gonzalez, like people who the quote unquote Chicano movement puts on a pedestal as iconic Chicanos. Uh, a good chunk of them were in Texas, where I don't know if they would go by Tejanos or not, you know what I mean? But they come from there. That movement was there. The before the Black Panthers were running into courthouses in Marine with rifles, Raza was doing that in Texas, right? So it's it that's interesting to hear you say that kind of from your perspective, that Chicano thing is more of a California
Yeah. Texas, don't forget,
identity. I don't know. It's a trip. It's
Texas,
That's
Texas was the
interesting.
first resistance, cabrón. Texas didn't want it. You know what I mean? The Mexicanos fought right there in Texas.
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
a lot of things were birthed in Texas. A lot of movements, a lot of the ideology and culture was born in Texas. So if anyone knows the history, the Tejanos know the history. But I think the Mexican army was battered, was beaten. I mean, it was so many. I mean, Spain getting France out of there, Spain over them. Just to become independent was huge because the neighbor to the north was already, was evolving and making systems and constitutions. But when that war kicked off, I mean, they lost the territory. Now, Risky, I disagree with you when you say that was over 50% of the property. I mean, of the
It,
property of the territory. Cabron, the Louisiana Purchase gave the United States fucking like 65% of the territory. So your
look,
50% is wrong, cabron.
look it up. You know what I'm saying? These
No,
are
no,
just
no, no. Don't
facts that.
look it up. Just think of the map.
No, but don't think of that. Okay, well,
Don't look
check
at
it.
numbers. Just look at
No,
the
no, no,
picture.
no. Look at the picture and you see
Guesstimate
it's
and guesstimate.
that
No,
Let me
wait,
chunk
see.
of
no,
Hey,
this
no.
put that on,
chunk,
sir.
this chunk of this is not 50%, bro.
Well, again, go back, look it up, and from what we know, Mexico lost about 50% of its land, bro. That's just
Oh wait, okay. So I think you guys are talking two different things then. So Mexico lost 50% of its land, but only added to 30% of the United States' land. Right? Two different countries. So Mexico lost a chunk of land.
right.
That's a percentage of how big Mexico was originally. The
No,
US had a chunk of land added to it that
what
changed it. So
no, no,
that
no.
could
What I'm saying is if the land that was lost by Mexico, if all of a sudden the fucking United States just had an epiphany and said, let's give this back to them. This was messed up. We're good with the Rio Grande and just the Louisiana Purchase. And let's just keep our former land. all of that land they would give back to Mexico would
So
only
you're
be about 30-35% of the modern day United States.
Okay, you're right.
okay.
And it would
Okay,
be
so
fifty
It's not
percent
50.
of
It's not.
Mexico,
Right. It would be 30% of modern
of the
United
United
States,
States.
but it would
Yeah.
double the size of Mexico.
Right, correct.
It would make
Oh,
up what change. Okay, so you guys
okay.
are saying the
That
same
makes
thing.
sense.
You're just looking at different countries.
But look, that's why I'm Mexicano. I'm looking at it from the Mexicano point of view,
Stop already. Stop
and
already.
Mikey's American, so he's looking at it from the American point
Okay.
of view. You see that?
Risky. Before you go,
Uh,
cabron, where are the parents from? Where are the
uh,
grandparents from? De qué ranchos? What
Costumbres,
states?
the costumbres. You gotta
What
speak the
state?
language.
What state?
Oh, me, Tamaulipas, Matamoros, Tamaulipas. That's where we've been from. Um,
Which is northern Mexico?
which is as far north as you can go, bro. I'm on the Gulf Coast. I'm
mm.
right on the Gulf Coast.
Okay.
If you know, I throw a
Yeah.
rock, I throw a rock from my house, it'll hit
Yeah.
somebody in the head in Mexico.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's around the places where the Apaches were. The Apaches, they say, were in northern Mexico, even going up to New Mexico and all that. And the crazy stories about the Apaches were that they went to war with Mexico as soon as the Mexicans were formed. They went to war with the Americans. The Apache
They're
natives
gachos.
were one of the last ones. They did not want to assimilate. Assimilation to them, it was either death. They preferred death than assimilation. So, I mean, you got to
Mhm.
respect that too.
The
Um,
Seminole were similar too, but they were a different population because they were over there in the swamps. But
hey,
and
now go ahead. I'm sorry, my bad, bro. Go
no,
ahead.
you're good.
I just wanted to ask Mikey and you as well, Rascal.
Hit me.
So what's the common ground? What's the common ground for the Mexicano, for
10:30, you guys. We're gonna wrap up at 10:30.
for the indigenous, and for the Chicano? The reason I say that is because we're divided. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, I'm Mexicano. Hey, like, you know what I'm saying? The Chicano's gonna say, hey, I'm Chicano. I'm Mexican American. The indigenous is gonna say, fuck both of y'all. You know what I mean? I'm superior.
Right.
Um,
Fuck both of y'all.
I mean, I just speak in
Stay
facts. You know
away.
what I mean?
Right.
Because if we flip it, the indigenous does feel superior. You know what I mean, to the Mexicano, a
Mm-hmm.
mestizo. You know what I mean, and to the Chicano even more. You know what I mean? So what's the common ground? You know, what's the where do we bring it together? And you know what I mean?
We bring them together because of the sangre way. I mean, at the end of the day, we could talk nationalism, we could talk ethnicity, but what's really gonna bond people is the blood, is the sangre. Again, that's not making one supreme. That's not making one better than the other. But it's that. But what fucks us up is this. Nah, fuck that. You're this. You're less than me. You're this. You're that. That's what fucks us up. At the end of the
Right.
day, the reason I started Chicano Tube is to help people strengthen their pinchy identity and who they are. I ain't in here to do no other pinchy thing, but to strengthen people's identity, and that way people could feel proud of who they are and wear it on their chest. So what relates us, what bonds us, whether we talk shit, bump heads, because the raza's own worst enemy is gonna be the sangre that flows through our vein. And if I look back at great grandparents and grandparents and all that stuff, it's very heavily indigenous. But again, soy Chicano way, so I'm gonna wear it on my chest.
Yeah,
I'm not the
and
kind
I
of
respect it.
I'm not the kind of individual that's gonna be, oh man, the Spanish this, the Spanish that, colonialism. That's just not me. That never was my world. That's never gonna alter my perspective on that. I'm in a great country that's giving me a lot of opportunities. I understand it. Shit gets deep, man. It's way deeper than what I've experienced.
Yeah,
Just according to my last guest, I mean, he talked about what happened to the natives was worse than the Holocaust. And I'm like, shit, I can't put myself in his shoes because I don't know how his people felt, etc. But
but that's
here,
your people too, way.
Right.
That is
I,
those are the terms that people. This is what I hear a lot. Way I hear a lot. We, my,
mm-hmm.
us. my people. But first, you know what I mean? Like, you got to prove that that was your people, right? For starters. But, 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 but that's your people too. You know what I mean? That's your ancestors as well. I, I, I have the sentiment for both, right? I acknowledge, my indigenous, but also my Spaniard. What am I gonna do? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't hate myself. I'm comfortable with myself, so I accept both and I accept what I am. Um, but would you call that
I,
the victim mentality then
no,
from from an indigenous?
I,
Go ahead, Raskizi.
I think
Shout out to Jaime.
I almost answered
Day
that risky
oneer.
business, but then I paused. So, hey, um, I think it comes down to empathy, right? I think it comes down to empathy, and what I mean is, like I mentioned earlier, the oppression Olympics, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean that in a
Este, güey.
derogatory way. I don't mean that to put anybody down, but I also mean that to apply equally to everybody because a lot of fucking people do it, right? It's there's been a struggle, right? And my struggle is not identical to your struggles, not identical.
Right.
Our family, through our family line, if we go back far enough, then there's people who had a shared struggle, right? And a lot has changed in our family lines over the years. And it's I think it's an empathy, it's an understanding of a shared struggle, right? I can't see the top. I see that there's writing, but I can't read it.
It's Santa Muerte.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I so I think it's the shared struggle, right? Of the same people, like to piggyback on what Risky Business is saying, right? Of the same people, it's manifested in different ways. And some people were brought up more in touch with certain aspects of their history than others, right? Nobody's had an easy path, right? And
Yeah.
arguing over who's had it worse or who deserves more. I'm better than you. It becomes a competitive thing, and I think that's where harm is done, right? They,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, one another's own worst enemy, right? That's where the harm happens. It's hey, I deserve this before you do, because look what my people, just the same thing you were saying, because what my people went through. But then my people are your people. It's so I think it's empathy. It's a hey, it's a shared struggle, and how our desires, I don't think our desires are radically different, right? We want to provide for our family. We want to be there for our family. We want a healthy community, right? We want to be free, right? Um, and when when one of us gets that, we all get that to a degree, right? Progress is made, and so I think that's what breaks down the division is being able to have empathy for one another. It's not a competition. It's not
Right.
a who
That's
had it
right.
worse, right? It's a
Mar
look,
9400.
man, you're my brother, right? And you're my sister, and we are going to do this. And again, because it's not as if there's a bunch of competing goals. When you get into national politics or that kind of sure, then you have competing interests, right? The
Yeah.
government of
Yeah.
Mexico has a different interest than the government of the United States of America. Newsflash, none of us are in the fucking government in either country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
That
let those
part.
people that are in government do their government stuff. That's their jale, right?
Mar
In the
9400. He
meantime,
said,
it's I don't know. That's what I think. I think it's an empathy. It's a shared struggle instead of this pissing contest.
let me ask you
Look,
this. What is white guilt?
Can someone explain why white guilt doesn't extend to raza?
White guilt.
I've never heard of that
You
White
gotta help me
term.
with the. Yeah,
guilt.
you gotta help out with
I appreciate you. Martin 9400. That's a day oneer right there. I
Martin
appreciate you,
9400 comes through
cabrón.
with great questions, but I need
Hey,
help with that one.
but look, check it out. This is the common denominator, right? Indigenous, Chicano, Mexicano, not all, right? But quote unquote, the white man sees us the same.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like me. They don't like you. They don't like you. They don't like him. It, again, not all, right? But quote unquote.
Right.
If you know, I could bring you, Mikey, out here to the Midwest. You know, they're gonna know you ain't one of them, bro. You know what I mean? So that's the
No,
common
but
denominator.
this is what I want to ask. When you say the white man, okay, I don't want you to just say that without
Don't
addressing this.
pretend.
Are you in the victim Olympics?
Nah. I'm in the realistic. Look, this is how I
Then
walk
are
around.
you one of
Look,
these
no, no,
guys that when you talk to
no, no,
people,
no.
you say the white man?
No. But look, well, yeah, I do. You know, it depends on the conversation. But look, with this cap is where I walk around, and it's actually a fucking project, bro. You know what I mean?
Órale.
I I like to see, and I wish I could fucking clip a GoPro to this motherfucker so people can see. So people can see the. Now, mind you, I truck the 48 states. You know what I mean? I see the looks from people. You know what I mean? And again, if you don't live it, you might just shun it off and like, you're full of shit. But you know what I mean? Like it's facts, bro. We also can't deny the facts. You know what I mean? So
Are you oppressed, bro?
who
You're oppressed.
am I? No, I'm not oppressed. No, hell
Mm.
no. No,
I'm
I'm not.
just kidding, cabrón.
No.
Live on Chicano Street.
But
Too
you know,
many
you make a good
modelos.
point. You make a good point about the hat, right? Is
People
when
keep
you
saying
walk
why.
around.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, when you're driving around and you're hopping
Right,
out of the truck
right,
in various states, right?
right. Yep.
There's a range of people. I'm assuming. I'm gonna make some assumptions, but obviously, let me know if I'm wrong. That they see you and they see that hat, and there's a kinship when they
Oh
see you.
yeah.
They
Oh yeah.
light up.
Yeah.
Hey, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And and so
I call it. I get the raza treatment
right,
because
right,
of
it's
the hats. You know what I mean?
right. So and I'm assuming that's probably a range of people, right? There's
Right.
some people that probably don't speak English, some people that speak Spanish and
Right.
English, probably some
Right.
people that don't speak any Spanish at all,
Right.
but still see that that's the people, right?
Right.
And all of them have different experiences, right? They're in different states. They, maybe were brought up a little different, whatever. They may have different views of the politics of Mexico. They may have a lot of different shit, but they see you in
Right.
that hat,
Right.
and they're like, "Hey, bro, that's one of mine."
They relate
Right? There's an assumption on their part.
for sure.
Hey, bro, we're the same, right?
Right. Yep.
I think that's the people, right? That's the raza right there. That it's
Are you
in a-
guys
it's
for
very simplistic way, but
are you guys for equality, inclusiveness, and diversity?
I,
EID,
I'm,
EDI.
I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not for oppression and supremacy. So yeah, I get is I think that's a politically loaded term. But
Damn, that was a curveball, huh?
if you take the words for what they mean, I'm not for a stratosphere where some groups are superior to others. So then, by default, yeah, I'm for equality.
Risky business. The white man.
And just how I get at the warehouses, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, primo, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I also get the stares of like,
That
you know what I
right.
mean? Of like, and me, I welcome that, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody to, you know, step up and say something.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I guess I'm egging them on, you know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
they can't stand to see these colors, you know what I mean?
Right.
But Mikey, let me ask you this, bro. Have you never felt that in your life? Like you've never felt the colorism
Bro,
from a white man to a Mexicano?
back in the 90s, we had a rap group here in Salinas. We
Right.
ended up traveling. Shout out to Young Gun 831. He used to publish all the CDs. Shout out to the fellas. They know who they are. We did a concert up in Oregon. It was in Grants Pass, Oregon. They didn't want to feed us. They didn't want to cut our hair. And by the time we got there and experienced those things, the promoter pulled up and said, "Fuck, man, my bad, you guys. This is where you're gonna eat. This is where you're gonna cut your hair." Because yeah, there's shit like that happens. But in no way am I gonna say that's the reason I can't go out and get ahead. I
Nah,
think if I
nah.
did that, my
That's a different
parents would be like,
dynamic.
"Pendejo, why did
Right. Yeah.
I came here and almost
Right. What the fuck we
died
doing over here? Right.
to fucking give you the opportunities
Right.
of hustle your ass over here, and you'll make more money than if you hustle your ass in the motherland. So
That
I've
that
experienced that.
that changes the dynamic of the conversation and of the question, though, right? I'm not asking if that's holding you down. I'm just asking if you magically think that racism in this country or any country ended, with any fucking abolishment of anything. Do you think it magically stopped?
No, hell no. Ended? No, that'll never end. It actually will get worse, sir. I don't give a shit how much money they put in these 501c3s or how much awareness they bring to something, or the NFL that says end racism and all the end zones of the touchdown of the field. It's never gonna end. But I also don't believe, I believe they gaslight that shit a lot on the internet, where they want to make you think that's happening on all 50 states on every single corner.
Yeah, no,
When it's really
yeah,
happening in select states, and there's a lot of isolated cases, but
but
like
don't
my
play
brother.
it down. Eh? You can't play it down. You know what I mean?
Oh, there
You
you
can't
go.
down you
There you
can't
go. How am I
downplay it.
downplaying anything? Wait.
You can't downplay it because you're still making excuses for it. You know what I
No,
mean?
I'm not making excuses. I think as Chicano team keeps going, people take a perfect example of my life, and the members only in the
it's
members only, they know the crazy shit. They'll kind of see how you're gonna be able to get a fucking head inside this country and make it work for you instead of looking why it's not working for you.
yeah.
You're gonna look at
Mm.
how I can make it work, and that make my parents proud, because my parents came here to hustle, and I'm only gonna hustle. But the victim mentality is real. You'll blame anything that you can't get ahead, and it's
But that
crazy.
victim and but
It's
see,
crazy
people
that you even
highlight.
do that, because at any moment you could check out of this pinchy life, and all you're gonna be doing is pointing the finger at other people why you couldn't get ahead,
Now,
etc.
now, now, for some clarity, right? Because you asked the question. When I say the white man, I'm not speaking on everybody and anybody white, right? Because I'm from Texas, you know what I mean? So I have redneck homeboys, you know what I mean, that I kick it with, you know what I mean? When I say the white man, I mean that white man that can't stand what this stands for, or my color, you know what I mean? That's what I mean by the white man. And I think that anybody, you know, uh intelligent or with common sense can, they can tell that, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? The victim mentality with me, no way, come on, man. I built a business in the United States. You know what I mean? Come on, that
I
doesn't that
can't get
doesn't fly.
ahead, carnales. I'm the victim.
Well, but I
That
think there's a difference between I can't get ahead, poor me, because my life has been so rough, right? Which I just think is an unhealthy mindset for anybody. And I
for
think
sure,
people of all races and
including
all
indigenous,
ethnicities do that shit,
including
right?
indigenous.
Right. That's people of all, yeah, of all backgrounds, all races, all ethnicities, all groups. There are just some people who want to be victims because then they don't have to be accountable for their own failures or lack of ambition or whatever the case may be, right?
Facts.
And also, there are systems and structures at play that do make things more difficult for certain people in certain areas. And I think that's not only based on race, a lot of that's based on economics. I think
Yeah. Uh-huh.
class in this country is probably a bigger determine it's not probably. I think class is a bigger determination of how you end up than race, right? I think
You have that in
so.
religion as well.
You exactly right. Same with religion, and so, but that's the thing is the developed world, quote unquote, right? Uh, is too fucking developed sometimes in the sense of everybody has to be divided and in a box and in this and in that, and then it's this group against that group and this group against that group, and it's all
Yeah,
fractured. The community, there's a lack of
that part.
community
That part.
that
Mm-hmm.
that that is I think where the harm lays, right? And then when you do embrace community, it's my community against your community, which kind of defeats the whole fucking purpose of community, right? And so there there are systemic obstacles, not entirely based on race and not only based on race, But that also doesn't mean that any one individual is incapable of succeeding in life if they're willing to do the work, right? Um, and and so yeah, I think it's
That's right.
we
No, I
conflate the
agree
two,
with that. I
you
agree
know.
with that. At the end of the day, let's just be human
Mhm.
and push that human race. And we're gonna go ahead and wind it down, you guys. I appreciate everyone that's tapping in. We already passed 10:30 o'clock. We had a live popping open live, the first of many open lives. Gracias, Raskizi. Risky
What's up,
Business in
bro?
the Casa came in and just spoke his mind and laid it out there. Who is a Mexicano? Who's not a Mexicano? I know he takes offense to that, right? Risky Business doesn't like people saying, well, they're from this tribe and that tribe, and the tribe is from Mexico. Risky Business like, no, 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 son mexicanos, cabrones. Ustedes son mexicanos, cabrones. Or
I
what do you think about
mean,
that?
yeah, because look, again, you're downplaying the whole 11 years
Hmm.
and including the whole 11 years of the independencia, right? And your ancestors died in that war. You know what I mean? Whether you want to accept it or not, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people say, yeah, my tribe never got conquered, bro. If you have a last name, you know what I mean? You have a last name, you have a first name, you know what I
I'm,
mean? You live,
I'm only laughing because Rascal's laughing. This
you
fucking
live,
Rascal has a contagious ass
Hey,
laugh. When Rascal laughs, I laugh.
because
you
it's a
live in the
silly ass
United
comment.
States,
My tribe never got conquered. Oh,
right? That's what
Spencer?
I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You live in the
But
United
wait, but
States.
we have some Hernan Cortez letters that said I couldn't
Yeah.
conquer these tribes,
Come
Yeah.
on, man. Um,
or don't we?
so
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
so
It's
I lost my train of thought, but
Shout out to everyone in the comment section, live on Chicano Street. Don't forget to subscribe over. We got 3 channels here. Okay, we actually got 4. We got Chicano Street, Chicano Tube, Homie Hangout, Rascal Reask, and Risky Business. Also has his own channel. So if you've been vibing with
okay.
Risky Business, his 2 cents, his opinions, he also has his own channel, and you can go ahead and search that. Guys, last comments of the night.
I appreciate you. And I would say last time I was in Chicago, and the reason I asked you about there being a lot of raza out there, right, is I was in Chicago. This was before the virus, and I was outside the hotel. I was like downtown somewhere, right? And all of a sudden, had to be 60 lowriders come cruising. And folks all got Mexican flags out the window, everything else. I took a video of it at the time, and I was like, fuck it, Mexicans rule the world, right? And because I had never been to Chicago. I had a notion in my head already of like immigration patterns, right? And in my mind and my assumption as a Californian, I didn't think that there was enough Mexicans in Chicago to pull that off. And I seen it and I was like, ah, damn it. So wound up kicking it and chopping it up with people and man, had a good old time and hung out with, folks all through the night and it was dope. But I laughed because I'm standing out there and I'm like, son, look at all these dudes. And it
there's
was a
no
trip.
state. There's no state that I've touched that there is no Mexicanos, that there is no raza. I
Yeah.
was out there. I took a trip out there to Reno actually about 2 weeks ago, and in the middle of the desert, in a fucking little ass fucking town, um, Tulapua or some shit like that. Middle of fucking nowhere, raza loaded me up, bro.
Right.
So we're everywhere, bro. We're everywhere.
Shout
Hey,
out
if
to
you come out to
Mexicano
Reno
too.
again, you come out to the Reno area again, man, hit me up. That's where I'm at. And
For sure, for sure. Yes,
No, he
yes.
wants to come on
we'll pull
Chicano
off and
Street.
we'll pull
Yeah,
out
he's
them
gonna
trails
he's
and
gonna
shit.
pull
I'm
up
gonna
over.
take
He's
down,
gonna pull
bro.
up to the docks in the salad bowl.
Oh,
Real,
absolutely.
No, for sure.
I'm throwing a curveball out there. I don't even know
Yeah.
why I feel like throwing this fucking curveball out there, but I'm gonna throw it because I see Miss Chicano tube just come in the comment section. Will each of you answer this or plead the fifth and not answer this? November 5th is coming up. Who is going to be the best one to run the presidency? You're voting Trump or you're voting Harris?
I'm not voting for either one. I can't in good
Cabrón.
conscience vote for either one.
I'm not participating in the rig system, bro.
Yeah.
Two
Yeah, I don't-
non-voters? Am I the only one voting?
I'm I am voting, but I'm not voting for president because I don't think either one of them is qualified, and I refuse to participate in the lesser of two evils.
Okay,
I
I
don't.
respect that. Risky.
Just like most of the country, I'm not going to be voting for a president, but I'll vote for other stuff.
Nah, cabron, I gotta stop. Okay, I don't know how. I don't want to make this live longer, but
Dale, dale, let it
just
run,
like
let
the
it
rest of the
run.
country, cabron.
Right.
If we don't get people to vote, then the people don't voice their voice.
If they don't produce candidates that are worth voting for, then most people ain't going to vote. The obligation is not on me. I'm the private citizen.
Here we
The
go.
obligation is on the government because they're the ones that control who we get to vote for.
It's.
Really, the money does.
I think.
Was it
and-
really
and-
okay? Let me ask you.
See, this is how much I want to touch on politics. I mentioned it at the end of a 2-hour live, just to let the gente know when they say you're Fox, you're this, you're that. No. I want to ask the people's opinion, and I believe the people are going to give it to me straight off their chest, especially if they're at Chicano Street. Yeah, people know who I'm voting for, but you guys reserve your vote, or will you privately vote and just like it should be? No one else's business who you vote for.
No, I'm a transparent person. If I was going to vote for president, I'd tell you who I'm voting for, and I'd tell you why. I don't give a fuck. I don't like either one of them.
Risky. Last.
I don't care to be politically correct. I think you already know that shit, bro. I don't give a
Right.
fuck about that. But let me
Right.
ask you then. But let me ask you.
No. We're not gonna open up no more can of worms. I just wanted to throw that out there because it's an interesting thing. Because we got about less than 40 days before either we have 4 more years of not buying houses, not saving money, not getting ahead, as opposed to 4 years of fuck it. Just give us 4 years of some economy stimulation. And then after that, if you want to burn it to the ground, I'll be out of state. I'll move over there where Risky's from.
Hey, wait, but look, call it
Me and Risky Business are fucking be neighbors on the fucking same street in Texas. If it doesn't work out,
everybody's coming to Austin anyways. But
actually, Austin I think is a blue city.
Well, look, that's what I was gonna tell you. Really
Texas is turning blue.
Look, now fuck that. We don't want to.
Stop. Last comments that you guys. We're gonna end it right now at 10:45. Go ahead.
All right. Does my vote matter more than the lobbyist contribution? Who holds more power, the citizen or the lobbyist? Big business.
The lobbyist is only there if they're invited to get in. An executive branch can stop lobbying from happening altogether, and
No,
it
they
was
can't.
already. Yeah, they can.
The executive branch, no, they can't. The executive branch doesn't make laws.
No, okay, then I take it back. Not the executive branch is going to pass it as a law, but the commander in chief can be like, I'm not hearing these cabrones. They're not going to be in my ear trying to persuade me with their money.
We have never had a commander in chief that said that.
Okay. And what I'm really alluding to is we can have a commander in chief that's not bought, that could really just do his own thing. Again, I'm not saying
we can't
one
have
person.
a Congress that's, even if you did, which is a romantic idea, but there's nobody running that fits that character. But it doesn't matter because the executive doesn't make the laws. The Congress makes the laws, the legislative branch, and the legislative branch is bought. And there's a whole shit ton of them. So that's why you can have a president who wants to do whatever the hell they want to do, but they have a Congress that doesn't, and it doesn't get done. And that's why Congress stays deadlocked, because the people with money pay for just enough folks to keep everything at a stalemate so that they can go off and do their own thing. The president is a puppet.
I think I hit something with the homie hangout. I think he might jump on the live on November 5th, because I'm going to do a November 5th live to give the last message to the raza, to let you know, hey, November 6th in the morning, we could either wake up to this or we could wake up to that. Maybe the homie hangout will grace us with it. Maybe Risky Business will grace us with his presence too. You guys were out live on Chicano Tube, live on Chicano Street. You guys have been watching it on Chicano Tube. Rascal Reacts. Gracias to everyone that's coming over from over there. Homie Hangout. Gracias to all you day wonders from Homie Hangout. And don't forget to subscribe over to Risky Business. He's got a YouTube channel. Hermanos, buenas noches. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a blessed weekend.
Viva Mexico, cabrones.
All right, Viva Mexico, cabrones. Remember what I always say? In the end, all you got is the memories.
Amen. All right, guys, take care.
Take care.
Ándale, vamos.